The Shark Deck.
Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I'm your host, Mark Francis. Yahoo took a look at that burning question, the real reason King Charles married Princess Diana and not Queen Camilla. Angela Levin, author of Camilla, From Outcast to Future Queen Consort, Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and Diana's grandmother, Lady Fermoy, had a huge part to play in it, as did the fact that Princess Diana was much younger than Camilla and therefore, in theory, more likely to give birth to the heir of the throne. Angela told Podcast Royal, King Charles had to have an heir, and I think it would have been quite difficult for them to have a child, and the Queen would have been terribly worried about that, because her whole aim is to keep the monarchy going. Also, with Diana, I think it's very important to say that Charles was being nagged to get married. He was over 30, he had to find heirs, and it was a plot between Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and Diana's grandmother, Lady Fermoy, and they actually worked together that this would be a very good thing. Charles and Diana got engaged just 13 days after their courtship began. Yahoo shares another interesting thing to note. Camilla's family reportedly weren't keen on her marrying into the royal family, as they allegedly forced Andrew Parker Bowles' hand by planting a fake Camilla-Andrew engagement notice in the Times, which then prompted him to pop the question for real. The first coin to feature King Charles' portrait has been released, and it also features Professor Albus Dumbledore of Harry Potter fame. The 50p coin, released by the UK's Royal Mint on Thursday, is part of a larger Harry Potter collection, celebrating 25 years since the novel Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was published. Rebecca Morgan, Director of Collector Services at the Royal Mint, said, The Royal Mint's Harry Potter coin collection has seen a popular response among collectors worldwide, not only for the books being a global phenomenon, but due to the collection being one of a small number that will see a change of royal portrait during the series. The 50p coin featuring Professor Albus Dumbledore marks this change of portrait, with His Majesty King Charles III's official coin portrait now appearing for the first time in the series. This collection of coins serves as a permanent reminder of the fascinating transition from Britain's longest reigning monarch to His Majesty the King's first appearance on UK coinage. The Telegraph has the scoop on the King's coronation robes. Like many things royal, this gets complicated rather quickly. The Telegraph explains, the order in which the robes are worn was established in the 14th century manuscript Liber Regalis, or Royal Book, which is preserved in the Westminster Abbey Library. The highly decorated manuscript, created before the coronation of King Richard II and Queen Anne of Bohemia, comprises 34 pages and acts as an instruction book for the running order of the ceremony. Most robes are made anew for each coronation. The current exceptions are the Super Tunica, which was made for George V's 1911 coronation, and the Robe Royal, which was made for George IV's coronation in 1821. Dr. George Gross of King's College London explains, just as with so much of the service, the robes take their place in importance from the Liber Regalis. The vesting with the Colobium Sindonis and the Super Tunica have their origins in this text. These are the robes with the longest tradition and therefore of most importance to be retained within the ceremony. The king is thought likely to arrive at his coronation in military uniform, which would then form his main attire for the ceremony. The king will enter Westminster Abbey in the robe of state, also known as the Parliament robe, as it is worn for the state opening of Parliament. Dr. Gross said, this could be well made anew for the monarch, and if so, one would expect, as per the coronation emblem, for there to be a nod to sustainability and the environment. As this is used for the state opening of Parliament and has a further use, it would seem logical for Charles III to put his own mark on this special robe. The king will change into the Colobium Sindonis for the anointing, the most sacred moment of the ceremony. The white garment is designed to symbolize purity before God. The sovereign is also invested with the Robe Royal, or Pallium Regale, and is then crowned whilst wearing it. Made for the coronation of George IV in 1821, the robe's royal design was based on a priestly robe. At the end of the ceremony, Charles will appear in the imperial robe, also referred to as the robe of state, wearing the imperial state crown and carrying the scepter and the orb. Got all that? We'll be passing out a quiz later. Palace Intrigue, right back. Charles may not be everyone's king, and the Not My King crowd is letting Charles know that. At a recent appearance by His Majesty, around 20 protesters from the anti-monarchy group Republic held up huge signs with the message, Not My King, on them. The king was in Milton Keynes to celebrate its new city status after it was awarded the accolade as part of the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations last year. Charles chose to ignore the protesters and greeted some folks who had brought him flowers. Some even shouted, "God save the king." The anti-monarchy group Republic has said it is planning a campaign of anti-monarchy protests to coincide with the coronation. The group also feels the coronation is a waste of taxpayers' money. Cosmo took a look at who has to bow to who these days. By the letter of the law, everyone has to bow to the king. Everyone else has to bow to Camilla. Royal watchers believe William is casual with this. At a recent Christmas concert, William was seen giving his father a simple double-cheek kiss. Protocol dictates that upon greeting the king, one initially calls him Your Majesty before switching to a less formal Sir. In the Queen's case, it was Your Majesty and then Ma'am. That said, these rules are mostly for public appearances, and William still likely calls his father Pa in private. One of the fun parts of the coronation, especially if Harry and Meghan come, will be watching all the bowing or the high-wire acts done to prevent royals from running into each other. If you don't meet, you don't have to bow. And there you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalaceintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your favorite shows. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue. Good time.
I'm Alyssa McKay, star of the new podcast, The Royals of Malibu. I play Ella, a sex worker just trying to survive when I get swept away to the wealth and the drama of Malibu.
You know, you can like something without touching it.
You've made the biggest mistake of your life, Ella Sinclair.
You are a total psycho!
Will Ella find a happily ever after ending? Or will these rich kids destroy her? Fall in love with The Royals of Malibu on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts.